Hey, what's up, movie losers? Lindsey here, back for the Road to the Last Jedi with the Mos Eisley Happy Hour, where tonight we're going to review one of the newest Star Wars novels, Leia, Princess of Alderaan. So there's a lot of heavy tie-ins to The Last Jedi, but it actually takes place 3 years before A New Hope. So we follow this 16-year-old Princess Leia as she starts to prepare to become Queen of Alderaan. So she meets all these new people, these young senators who are going to help her prepare to be queen, but while she's doing this, she discovers the Rebel Alliance on her own. And then to take things a step further, she figures out that her parents are two of the leaders of this alliance. So she tries to join the rebels, but her parents actually don't want her to, and they take this time to actually dissuade her from joining the rebellion. So it's this great back and forth. We find out a lot about the early stages of the rebellion, a lot more about a young Princess Leia and her family dynamic. So good plot overall. It keeps things moving forward at a steady pace. But some of the key takeaways here: one, it really develops the Carrie Fisher version of Princess Leia. So this is the brave young woman we expect, really kind-hearted, she wants to do well, and she's very smart. So there's just this great development of Princess Leia that you would hope for and that you would expect, given what we saw from Carrie Fisher. We also find out about how it's her idea to join the rebellion. So personally, I always assumed that when she was younger, she was brought up with all this extra knowledge, and it's something maybe her parents forced her into. But I love this idea that it's something she really wanted and she fought for, despite the fact that people like her parents didn't want her to do this. So we actually get to meet the character Laura Dern is going to be playing, Amilyn Holdo. And she is almost like a Luna Lovegood type character. She's pretty far out there, but just very sharp, very good person, and she becomes great friends with the young Princess Leia. Then we also see Crate, which in The Last Jedi, as you've seen in the trailers, is that planet where it's covered in salt with that red mineral underneath. So we already knew there was a rebel base there, but now we finally get to see that rebel base in action. There's only two characters who were very well developed who tie into the main story. One, of course, like we said, Amilyn Holdo. She's a little out there, kind of marches to the beat of her own drum, but she's able to put together a lot of things no one else sees. And she figures things out on her own, and she, like Leia, once she figures it out, wants to act. The other main character is Keir Damade. And since this is a young adult novel, there is that romance storyline. So he is Leia's love interest, first love, and the polar opposite of Han Solo. So there's actually a great line here about how he's not a scoundrel, and Leia probably should fall in love with a scoundrel. But Keir is just tight-buttoned. He's really loyal to Alderaan, and even though he does love Princess Leia, he would be willing to betray her if he thought it was what's best for Alderaan. Key themes of this book, one is that coming-of-age story. So since this is Princess Leia growing up, and it is directed towards a younger audience, there are those elements of learning to fall, getting back up on your own feet, figuring out who you are. So that's one of the bigger themes. The other big theme I thought was interesting, though, was actually how it's important to start sending a message to people at a very young age. And from then, you can influence their point of view on certain topics, and how that all has to come in at a very young age. It's something we're used to seeing in Star Wars with the Jedi, with the First Order, and now, honestly, even how Disney markets things to kids. But great theme, and it delivers it in a very subtle way, which we're not used to seeing with the Jedi or the First Order. One of the other key themes here is the concept of, as they put it in this book, real footage, false history. So how does the Empire take these real events and twist it to get people to believe their propaganda? And in time, how is the Rebel Alliance and then the Resistance going to do the exact same thing. So it's real footage, false history. You're going to hear some mentions in Bloodline about some of the events that take place here. Some similar characters are going to cross over. Rogue One, actually, we see a planet called Wobani in Rogue One, and that's now being worked into this story as well. Easter eggs in here, we see the Millennium Falcon, we get to go to Naboo. People start to put together who Leia's real parents might be, so ties into the original trilogy. But even though this book wasn't heavily tied into this, and it is its standalone piece, it pretty much touches on every point of the Star Wars universe that we've seen, and a ton of novels or graphic novels that we also have seen. I would give this book a 3 out of 5. It's really fast-paced and well-written, but what I struggled with was the fact that this is a young adult novel, and for the first time ever, I actually felt like it was. So, Rebel Rising, Lost Stars, these are young adult novels, but they're very mature in their plot and in their theme. This was the only time I ever felt like I was reading a young adult novel. Regardless, great book. If you have time, I would pick this up and give this a read, but it's not essential reading for The Last Jedi. There are other things I would put first, like Phasma. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything, and you are ready for December and The Last Jedi. May the Force be with you.
Do it again in the